Hey, y'all, welcome. So glad you're here. Let me start with a quick question for you. How many of you have come into work the next day and your organization rolls out the initiative of the month or the initiative of the quarter? And it's the new initiative that is coming down from management or from leadership and being introduced to or placed upon, depending on how you want to look at it, the staff. Yeah, I see your hands out there. I have been in that exact situation too. And, sometimes you can feel a little like, okay, here we go. Well, it kind of reminds me of a story, a situation that I experienced when I was younger. So I was 6 years old, and my parents decided to sit me and my brother down and say, hey, we're going on a family vacation. And my brother and I are really excited. We are like over the top excited because we're thinking we're going to one of the local beaches in North Carolina because that's pretty much where we would go on vacations. And then we thought, okay, maybe this one is going to be really different or a little more special. And we may be going to one of the beaches in South Carolina, like Myrtle Beach. So my parents sit there and they say, we are going on a road trip to Toronto, Canada. Now, don't judge me on this part. I was 6 years old and my geography had not quite developed. So I'm thinking to myself, how are we going on a road trip to Canada? I know it's a different country. How are we driving there? I told you, don't judge me. Once my geography kind of came together, I remembered, oh, yeah, Canada is right here with America. So we're talking about this road trip. I'm going to my school library, in elementary school and checking out books that talk about the different states on the East Coast and, just kind of really thinking through it at 6 years old and trying to prepare myself as best I could at 6 years old. And so I'm reading books. And of course, I grab a book on New York City because I know that if we're driving up the East Coast to Canada, we are going to have to go through New York City. In my mind, New York was New York City. And in the books that I read, it talked about New York City. It talked about Times Square. It talked about, Manhattan. It talked about all of those fun things, exciting lights flashing that I thought for sure I was going to have an opportunity to see. So my family gets ready. We pile up in the blue family station wagon. Now, maybe dating myself a little bit. How many of you are even familiar with a station wagon? Okay, I see a few hands out there, not many. Let me describe a station wagon to you. It's this really long car, just very, very long. And ours was blue and it had this brown paneling on the side. And that was like considered an upgrade. So this was a little more special station wagon, if you will. But one of the features that a station wagon had is that in the very, very back, there was a seat, a small seat. And whoever sat in that seat literally saw everything backwards because you were sitting with your back to everybody else in the car. So everything is passing you by, but it's passing you by backwards. So my brother was older than me. What do you think happened? Exactly. He said, I'm the oldest. I get to choose. I don't want you sitting close to me or near me all the way to Canada. So you got to sit in the back. So here I go. I pile into the back seat and we start out on this family vacation road trip to Toronto, Canada. We are on the road and we're driving, and my dad proudly announces, we're in New York. We get in New York and I'm looking around. Now, what do you all think I'm looking for? My expectation was based on the books that I had read from my elementary school library. So I'm looking for Times Square. I'm looking for Manhattan. I'm looking for flashing lights and traffic and people. I'm looking for what I thought was New York City. But where we were looked just like North Carolina. No city lights, none of that. So we get out of the car and I said, Dad, we're in New York. He's like, yes, we're in New York. And I said, well, where's Manhattan? Where's New York City? Where's Times Square? Where's all of New York? He said, oh no, we're in upstate New York. So he starts explaining upstate New York and he's so excited, but he and my mom can tell by my reaction that I'm not really excited. I'm waiting to see the shiny lights, and they're excited because we're getting to see the hillside and fields. I'm like, I can see that in North Carolina. I don't need something new to see the same thing that I've been seeing. So my dad realized that, okay, she may not be really excited about this like we thought she would be. So we go on and we get to Niagara Falls. Well, I had read about Niagara Falls in the book, so I'm excited. I finally see something that my expectation had set for me that would be an exciting thing that I would see. So we drive on, pile back into the blue station wagon with the brown paneling on the side. I'm in the back and the whole trip is passing me by backwards. So I get to New York, I get beyond New York, and we get to Canada. We're in Toronto, Canada, and we are in this so beautiful village. It is just the most beautiful little area, and it's quaint, and we're staying in what is now considered to be like a bed and breakfast, and we stayed there, and we're meeting people, and everyone there was French Canadian. So what language do you think they were speaking? You're right, French. What language were we speaking? English. And not just English, but English from a very southern state that probably had a bit of an accent to them, just as their French Canadian accent was so beautiful and melodic to all of us. So we're there, we get there, kind of late in the day. That first day, we kind of rough it out and figure it out, get some food to eat, and we're tired, we get in, we go to bed. So we get up in the morning and it's time to order breakfast. So by now, again, I'm 6. I'm pretty hungry. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to eat. Well, I'm wanting what I eat for breakfast. So I'm looking for, what do you think? I'm 6. I'm looking for a box of cereal. I'm looking for a blue box of cereal, to be specific. To be even more specific, I'm looking for a blue box of cornflakes. This is what I want. So we find our way to this wonderful little diner. It's so beautiful. And this waitress who has the absolute most beautiful French Canadian accent. Her French is so beautiful and it's just melodic and it flows. And she comes to our table. She's trying to take our order. My mom, who is probably one of the most intelligent people that I've ever met, and I'm not saying it just because she's my mom, but she really is. So she has her translation book from French to English and English to French. So she's flipping through the pages and she's trying to find, eggs in French, and she's trying to find toast in French. But I want a box of cornflakes. This is what I want at 6 years old. So we're trying to order. The waitress is trying her best to understand us. We're trying our best to communicate to her. I'm 6. I am getting more agitated because I'm hungry. And I just, in a moment of exasperation, I literally stand up and I say, all I want is a blue box of cornflakes. And so my parents are kind of looking at me because I don't typically act like that, but I'm hungry and I'm frustrated and nobody can understand each other. And then the waitress said, cornflakes? And she said it in her very French Canadian, yet broken English way with her accent. And she scurries off and I'm just almost in tears because I'm like, I just want a blue box of cornflakes. She comes back from the kitchen and she has the blue box in her hands. And she and I are looking at each other and she's coming to the table and she's holding the box and she's saying, the blue box, cornflakes, cereal. And so she's trying to say cereal in English. My mom hears that, is trying her best to find cereal in the book to translate into French. And I reach out and I grab the box and I'm pulling it to me because I'm ecstatic. I got my box. I've got what I want. And when I pull it to me, she doesn't let go. So she comes with it. And we literally embrace over a box of cereal. We connected over a box of cereal. Now, back to my question. How many times has your organization, or maybe you even as a leader, how many times have you set out on the road trip, the initiative that you wanted to implement in your organization? And yes, you gave all of the training modules. You gave all of the things that were needed so that the staff could be educated on whatever the initiative is. And you gave everything that they needed from an exposure perspective. You know, you had your plan, your strategic plan, and all of the action steps and the long-term and short-term actions, and who was responsible for what action. So you had all of the tactical, if you will, kinds of pieces in place so that you could roll out this initiative. But you didn't have the blue box of cereal. You didn't have that point of connection. And so your staff found themselves in a place where, okay, I know all of the modules. I know all of the action steps. I know who's responsible for what. But what's the connection? What's the benefit for me? What is it that I am to get from this? What problem is this initiative that the organization is rolling out is supposed to address? If I don't know that, if I don't know that connection point, then I don't know how it impacts me. I don't know how it benefits me. And I don't know how I can connect to it so that I can help the company be better as we implement this new initiative. How many times have you experienced that on either end, where you were the one rolling it out or you were on the receiving end of what was being rolled out? Let's unpack that. Let's talk about that and unpack that.